You're listening live to the Xtreme Movie Show, special edition of Kickin It. This is Steven Seagal, Hard to Kill from 1990. I'm Rob, your host. Guesting with me as usual on this show, Dr. Englentine. Good day,
Uh,
sir.
Good morning.
So, Steven Seagal, I got the vibe that you weren't overly crazy about the first film, and this is the second one. Did that change for you?
This is like watching what was it? A Force of One, and then you immediately switch over to an Eye for an Eye, and it's just like a totally different movie. You go from like the other one. It's like basically they decided to, hey, let's cash in on the action because action's what's selling, and they did 4 times their budget in
This was a
profits.
certifiable Steven Seagal hit, no question about it. Edward Brewer, good day. I see you're in channel there as well. Hopefully, we'll get some more hopping in here in a moment. Yeah, I think the thing for this Steven Seagal film, I know that from I like to say and joke with you the millennial perspective that you'd seen some of his films, but what I really noticed in advertising, going on Reddit and checking this out, and sending people to over here and listen to this in our Chuck Norris ones that we've done, is that people remember this small chunk of time in Steven Seagal's films. I really wanted to emphasize that again in this film because whereas I think Above the Law, the film we just covered a few days ago on Kicking It, was a solid film. This is the movie that I believe Steven Seagal became Steven Seagal. What do you
De-
think?
Definitely. You notice in this one he also snapped another guy's arm. But I mean, but this is where you get him just being all badass. He's not like an above law. He is basically an honest cop, and he's going against dirty cops. And he's basically you get the one liners and all, and you get all the the suspense, the action, even a little romance.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about some of the Seagal action. So basically, Hard to Kill, like you say, they've really toned down the amount of plot. It's pretty much a straightforward crooked politician type movie, and Seagal's the cop involved in it. So it starts off in 1983, a wonderful year where he's got the shotgun mic and he's listening to people and stuff. And, you just see him kind of doing it on his own. And again, immediately what comes to mind to me is that I think Seagal really here in these films, physically, he looks good on film. He's believable. It works for me. He's got a buddy, O'Malley, who's a good old fashioned Irish dude or whatever, as his partner, which we'll talk a little bit more about here in a moment. So they team him up with somebody. But of course, early on, they give you a nice action scene where he goes into a bar and he's looking to get some champagne, for his woman because he's going to celebrate a hot case. And a bunch of these goons come in. So within like 7-8 minutes of there, you got the multicultural ethnic group in there with the shotgun. And he's just standing there. And if you're watching the scene, what's really cool is that the facial expressions on Seagal, I mean, it's like it's almost happening in real life. Like you almost believe that he's like, yeah, you guys are fucktards. I'm going to beat the shit out of you as soon as I get an opportunity. And what was a little different, and like I was saying, dirty and gritty about Seagal films, was that in here, you get the guy grabs the bat and he says, the guy, I've got a mind, a blah, blah, blah. And then the dude just unloads the shotgun and whacks him. And, but the guy, the bad guy gets a good line in that if you're not listening to it, if you catch it, he goes, now you've got half a mind, ha, 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 ha. And he's like, you want some of this? And he just starts in and all that. And then Seagal just totally wipes the floor with all these goons. What do you think about this scene?
I love it because he's like the guy's got a shotgun. He basically well, he starts out the scene where he's talking to the owner of the gas station, and he's like, "Why don't you watch the Oscar?" He's like, "Well, screw the Oscars. I got crime, I got prostitution, I got drugs and all stuff. All the security cams are above." And he's like, "Plus, I don't have to pay $4 to watch it." Because it was a running joke too, because even Seagal's his boss, his captain, was watching the Oscars too.
Yeah, I'm glad they took a shit on the Oscars because one thing, of the famous I Love Comics channel, and I would always do the list porn stuff of his really involved into an Oscar watching party. And we used to have these parties where people would get together and we'd rank them and stuff. And it was a tremendous amount of fun too. So that's kind of where the top 10 Tuesdays come in. So I've kind of gotten away from Oscars just in general, although I think that's something, we've talked about before and he still really enjoys. But this is, where he, again, it's a new martial art. Steven's showing you like disarming techniques, and he's this tall dude, and he's got the little short munchkin tatted up dude. So he's like, Oh, I see. Mine's bigger than yours. I'll get on the ground. You want to come at me? And he just wrecks them. But the
Yeah,
thing is he adds just a little bit of brutality to it where
you're getting the comedy brutality. This is like kind of like a pre because you haven't met Jean-Claude Van Damme yet, or in the 80s yet. So you see this kind of humor he did first, Seagal did, where he's at the gas station. The guy is a short guy. He's got the knife. He's scared. It's an unfair fight. He's like he's pointing the shotgun. He's like, hey, guess what? Mine's bigger than yours. So guess what? I'll put that down. Here I'll even get on my knees. To your level. Come at me. And he just basically just beats the crap out of this little short guy. He's basically like, he's like, come on, come at me. The guy is he's scared of Seagal.
yeah, cue up the celery music because not only does he disarm the guy, knock him down, turn him around, instead of just ending the fight with the cops, which they cut to, they allow the scene to stay in there for a moment because it just absolutely wrecks and destroys the guy's ankle right in front of you. I mean, we're 10 minutes in. This is good stuff. We're character building here.
Yeah.
So anyway, I mean, it kind of is. It's a lot like the first film where they just kind of show stuff going on. He comes home to his wife and he's got a cute kid, and then we start to see Steven Seagal lovemaker because him and his wife were kind of talking, and you get a little bit of the sexy sex that we've talked about again in Chuck Norris films in the 80s because as saxophone starts dying out in the 90s, especially with grunge. Then his wife start making some sweet love, and these goons come in, and you get you see the scene where Steven's got the mouthful of titty and all that, and then the lady screams, and then these guys come in, and this is pretty cool. I mean, they shoot him with a shotgun like 3 times. He's like, fucker, running at the dudes, and he's like, blam, 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 and they whack his wife. This is good.
If you've never seen this movie, if you saw this in a theater the first time, you're kind of starting to get emotional. You're kind of developing a bond to his wife and all. He's a happy guy. He's got a son and everything. And then out of nowhere, it's like a Charles Bronson film. You're watching like Death Wish. They come in, they shoot him, and then they shoot his wife, and then they shoot his kid. His kid falls out the window.
Yeah, and luckily for him, the kid escapes. So we know that's going to be a loose end.
Yeah. Well, at first he didn't know though. At the beginning, because the kid's like he's only 4 years old. So, you don't see him till later out, like in the movie. He's much older. But we'll get to that though. But I mean, this.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, it's tight enough where there's not a lot of extra exposition. There's not a lot of talking and stuff going on. So, bottom line is this is where you see O'Malley, which I want to talk about this dude for a minute because for O'Malley, he's gonna die. He's got those sad sack drunk eyes, even when he's not drinking, and he looks relatively young in the scenes that you see him. But as his partner, he's like, okay, I want you to kind of, keep this quiet and let me know of anything that happens. But of course, you're already dealing with a bad senator, a bunch of little pipsqueaks in his inner circle. So he goes to, if I can think of the correct name for it, I believe it's the Institute for Coma Research. So I'm not joking when I say there's,
because they
criminally insane. There's special institutes all over them. This one happens to be for coma research.
Yeah, the reason that Seagal's in a coma because they attacked his wife because he went early on the docks. He was recording a secret conversation, and he ended up getting footage of the senator making a bad deal. So, but it's funny. He's in there for like 7 years, and just before he wakes up, here you got Kelly Brock introduced as his hot nurse, and the first words are mouth. You see her, and he's like, "Hey, you wanna feel a little pussy or something?"
Yeah, this is a really bad scene, which is like, I got a gift for you. I've got a little pussy. And it's a pussycat. And the pussycat, she puts him on there, and she's like, oh, I guess you're not vibing on it. She walks off. And he comes to life, thanks to Pussy. An important scene, because without Pussy, Steven Seagal wouldn't be alive today.
Yeah. I mean, that would have got.
I mean, we're not embellishing it. It's the legit truth. There's a scene here, though. Two things I wanted to point out. There's a scene where Kelly Brock's got like a friend nurse or whatever like that who's got a coffee cup, and it's a black coffee cup, and I don't know how progressive Steven Seagal is. A lot of people think that he's not, but if you catch it, there's a scene where the nurse, she's like, writing down that the coffee cup's got this message written on this black coffee cup, and the nurse is black, that says "black by popular demand," and I'm like, I didn't notice that the first couple times I saw this movie, but I started to notice little things like this, like the Institute for the Coma Research. But did you know Kelly LeBrock was his wife?
At this movie, I did not know that.
Well, so you can definitely see that, she
There's,
looks fantastic, but
yeah,
she's
there's.
looking at him like, yeah, we're in a movie together,
Well,
honey. I mean,
she
the chemistry is there.
when she's like she looked give him the pussycat, and then she looked up his shirt. He's like, what a waste. You need to wake up. She definitely check out his junk.
Yeah, and I'm
And
like, I
like,
like that because it's pretty, it's graphic in its own way, and it's certainly not weak or anything. I mean, a nurse is going to check out a 6'4" guy, and I got to talk about Seagal's look. I know he's old now. I know he's fat. I know he only gets filmed talking, or even that at all. But this look, I always thought he reminded me of. I'm not sure which of the gazillion Shaw Brothers movie it was, but it's the one where it's the movie that gets emulated by Quentin Tarantino, where in Kill Bill, where he's got the white mustache, the kung fu mustache that's really,
oh,
really long. Seagal's got that now, and it looks really horrible. But I go, I know, I like this look by Seagal. I think if he turned into like a blind swordsman when he was older, or like a mentor type role, thinned up at least a little bit, and had the white long thing going on, I think he could still do it. So I don't know what he's capable of doing in his older age, but he still has a look that he could do.
I would love to see a movie where he's kind of like it's not as well. You look at Mr. Miyagi, but like a little bit different though. Movie he could be like a teacher, train someone,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
not.
that is his profession. I mean, like Chuck Norris, they were both instructors. So there's certainly something about it. The problem here, though, is okay, she's checking out his junk. There's some good chemistry. They go in a bit of an extended scene where, they go to escape after he comes to life because the goons come back for him or whatever. So she kind of like takes him to like a friend's house or whatever.
You're skipping over the best scene though with the massage therapist Danny.
I didn't really want to talk about Danny, but if you'd like to talk about Danny the massage therapist with Steven Seagal, go right on ahead, sir.
Here's this guy with
There's
this
no
like
homo in this.
he's got the porn ass mustache. First of all, which is hilarious. It's the 1980s. He comes in and he's expecting to be jumped by these guys because they know he's awake. So Seagal's like, "Who are you?" He's like, "Oh, my name is Daniel. I'm the physical therapist. I'm going to give you a massage. Take you down the hall and make you feel all right." And he's like, "Get the fuck out of here!"
But he's whispering it,
Yeah, because he can barely talk.
That's just he's supposed to be weak. Get the fuck out of here.
And so this guy's already annoying as it is, and then he ends up being shot anyway by the guy coming in to kill him. So I mean that was kind of relief right there, kind of comedy.
Yeah, so Kelly, she wants to nail this dude, so she's got to get him back to life before she can ride him. So she takes him to the friend's house, which is of course an estate that's got a white pony, which is phallic in its own nature. There was a tune called White Pony back in the 80s. I mean, it's like very sexual, this movie.
I
But
mean,
he looks actually young, even though he's close to 40 in this movie. He
yeah.
looks healthy. He looks very viral.
How convenient that the place he shakes him is like a dojo.
Well, yeah.
I mean, so
well, you can see her making goo eyes at him, and he tells her a little story about when I was over in Japan. I was a white boy, and I wanted to learn how to fight. And the master said, anybody can kill, so why don't you learn to heal people? So of course they're telling you that he's going to go give himself the self acupuncture, the burning thingy, and then of course he has an extended Steven Seagal scene, which is really his version of the A-Team scene because he clean shaves, and to your point, they put him in a dojo, and he goes through all the stuff. You can't even do like dumbbell raises or nothing. I mean, it's just absolutely horrible. I mean, I love it, but it's horrible.
When he brought up that scene about him wanting to learn how to fight overseas, it kind of reminded me of Bloodsport, where he was being trained by that guy.
Yes,
he wanted to learn how to be the best.
Because all real men need a master that's been there, done that, and can show them the way, or at least get them back on the right path. Because you need to rebuild yourself through the fields of fire as they were, before you can go back and avenge yourself. Because this ultimately is a revenge film.
It is, and it's a great revenge film.
So what's that?
I was just going to say, just the kills alone, man. You don't need the dialogue; just him just doing what he does.
Yeah, we're halfway through this film, literally, and he's trying to like relearn how to punch because his muscles atrophied. It's been like 7 years, and then of course she's fallen in love with him. Kelly LeBrock is. They show him running up this mountain. It's in Ojai, which is a really beautiful part of Cali, and he's sitting overlooking, on a stone, the whole town or whatever, and he's contemplating, which Steven does well. I don't know if his range is as good as the last movie, but of course, now that he's running around, she comes back, and Kelly Brock is just smoking hot in this dress.
And then,
oh my goodness,
she's all over. She wants it deep hard.
She is just got a trail, just got puddles behind her walking up to Seagal, and he's got his Seagal version of his wife beater on, and they start making some sweet, sweet love, and they're going at it. I mean, this looks real. Like, this doesn't look fake or phony. This is the real deal.
You know what was funny? He had the '90s the bandana on when he was training.
Yeah, you could get away with it. Bandanas were definitely a thing. Of course, he then dons the Seagal outfit with the black leather jacket and jeans, goes to the graves of his family. And there is a plot that's kind of going on here in the background a little bit where they try to act like they're real estate agents so he can go back. And the shotgun mic that he was using before, he had recorded it on the tape and he had to go get it. So that's kind of what happens to this point. They make sweet, sweet love, so she becomes a thing, and they go to get the tape. Yeah, they age the same. Edward Brewer saying in channel. Absolutely. I mean, yeah, that's, I don't know if Seagal was in a lot of drugs, but, that's neither here nor there. But here's where he meets O'Malley, who, of course, was very clean shaven before. So now he doesn't have to shave to show that he aged in this movie. And they're talking. This is just the point where they fast forward through the plot of basically saying, yeah, I watched your son, and he's at this prep school, and hey, guess what? I'm going to hook you up. We're going to have some beers, and we're going to talk about what's really going on. And this Seagal, of course, becomes the perfect marksman that he is. And like I said, I just knew that O'Malley's going to die. So to me, we're an hour into this film. We're at this residence. Seagal's contemplating the big picture, because he's not just a cop, he's like a detective. I mean, it has to make sense. And so he's sitting there, he's at the house. And before I get to the big scene, do you want to make any comments?
Man, you're seeing at the scene where he's going to go confront the bad guy, right?
Almost. This is where he learns who the bad guy is.
Oh yeah, he's having flashbacks. He can never figure out who the guy's voice is. But the guy says he's like, I'll bank you on that. I think was that what his line was?
The reason he taxes here in the state of California, and you can take that to the bank. And so goes to the couch, and he hears it, and he has those flashbacks. Absolutely right. This was the big tweet that we were advertising the show for, because this is by far the most popular line ever up to this point. Steven Seagal whispers, yeah, I have to say it, where he's like, I'm going to take you to the bank, Senator Trask, to the blood bank. And then that's how he just knows who he is. It's fantastic. This makes the movie.
And then from there, and it just escalates as far as the killings and the lines and zingers are just like great.
Yeah, because this is an hour in, so there's only about 20, 25 minutes left. I want to make an aside here. Right when YouTube was getting started, like in 2006, 2007, around then, it wasn't obviously as popular as it is now. At a place I was working at, there was a young gentleman that basically I had to oversee some of his work. He was, I think, 18 years old, 19 years old at the time, and he would go crazy because at the time, this was one of the first people. Steven Seagal actually had an energy drink that had all natural ingredients, goji berries, all this stuff. And he was freaking out about it because he would talk about gym stuff with me, and the guy that I was in an office with, and he'd pop in and he'd talk about it. He'd be like, "Oh man, did you ever see any Steven Seagal films?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm a lot older than you. Of course I've Steven Seagal." And he goes, "I just saw this one where he talks about going to the blood bank." I goes, "Did he really did that?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was the big famous scene." He goes, "Man, this is incredible. Did you see Out for a Kill?" And I'm like, no. He's like, "Well, all these are on video on demand." I'm like, holy crap. This is when, I realized, unless you grew up watching Steven Seagal films, there's this definitely a dark period after about Under Siege, to your point, where he just kind of goes on a video demand, and he's kind of left not remembered for these great films that he did, because this is a solid film. So I just want to throw in that pre-millennial type story there, because that really shocked me. That made me feel my age.
That's the same thing with Dolph Lundgren. unless you've gone back and seen Rocky and seen his other ones, you know, we don't really know who he is. Because these guys, he's got all his straight. You figure he's just like a deals actor doing straight to DVD movies, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's fantastic to see. It's the end of the second act, basically. Okay, we got the reveal, we know what's going on. So now it's just denim way, as they say. You know, the final action, put all the pieces together. And I apologize to Edward Brewer in chat. It says I said it much louder though. I did. I was trying to whisper. It's hard for me to whisper unless I do Sakura, ninja, like that. And I think about the octagon. So
ninjas.
Yeah. One thing I do want to say about this scene, because once he does this, the goons come back to try to get him and Kelly LeBrock, and she screams really, really good. She's really believable. But here's the thing with Seagal that I don't. I take it you enjoy guns personally. Would that be safe to say?
I like an equal balance.
I mean, in real life, though, you're a gun person, correct?
I respect them, you know, but yeah, I mean, who doesn't like shooting something and watching it explode?
Well, I like guns. I fired them, you know, regardless of people's politics and what they think about it. There's an element of respect if you have ever fired a gun and you're on the range. I would say that exists, and so every person I've ever known and met's extremely respectful of that power. I've never met any douchebags or dude bros like that, and that's just been my experience. Steven Seagal, in real life, he tried to, at this time when he was on talk shows, would perpetuate that he might have worked for the CIA or might have trained people, and he can't talk about it. And he'd be like, Arsenio, I really can't talk about that, you know. And it's like, you just don't know why he was in Japan. So he did a really good job of feeding his ego and pushing out this conspiracy. But in the scene, I have to say about Seagal, and I said the same thing about Don Johnson on Miami Vice, I like the way physically he handles a gun. He looks like he knows what he's doing. I'm not saying it's legit. I'm not saying it's real. I'm not one to judge, but he doesn't look like a goober holding a gun like, I don't know what the hell to do with this. The way he holds it in and moves around and stuff, it looks good to me.
I wonder if he actually owned guns before this, you know?
I think he's handled them a lot. Final Frame has jumped in. Good days. Final Flame, we're about towards the end of Hard to Kill, talking about Steven Seagal and how good his gun handling skills are. His gun kata, if you will. His gun fu.
So, yeah, okay. So we're setting up the scene where you're going to skip the hotel scene.
Well, the hotel scene is there because that sets it up. But basically, he goes back to the ranch, and you know the white pony goes out, and yeah, they get into the hotel scene, and this is important because it's another excuse for him to hurt people.
Exactly.
So, what do you remember about the hotel scene?
I remember him throwing the guy through the glass twice. And then he steals the Corvette.
Yes, he does.
And the guy's, hey, you can't do that. He just did.
I think he had a Camaro before that. He
he traded he traded that Jeep Wrangler in for the car so because they were driving a hot car, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, the train scene, before we get to the final scene, is where he's supposed to be meeting O'Malley, and he's supposed to be meeting his son. And his son has the sad sack Ralph Macchio look on there too, and you know he's got the tape or whatever. And then of course O'Malley, being his partner, tries to save him. And what happens?
He tells the kid to run. The kid just stands there, gives him the cassettes. But he's like, the kid's like, what? And then he finally runs, and they're running through traffic. And here's the two guys are chasing after this kid, they said before in the movie that he was telling Seagal about about his kid, and it's all of a sudden he's in track. He's a really fast runner. So of course they have him outrun these two goons. One of the goons is the guy who, what was his name? It's
Squad, yeah.
Yeah. Branscombe Richmond, I believe I'm probably butchering his first name, but he's from Renegade series.
Yeah, because it's the same dude from the last movie, this Renegade guy.
Yeah.
And we'll see more of him later too.
But yeah, they're chasing him through the alley, through the Chinatown and everything, and you see Seagal chasing after those guys. He catches up with one of them, breaks the guy's leg, and he throws him in a dumpster. And here the guy, as he continues running, he's like, "My leg's broken. Oh, it hurts so bad." And it's like, I'm like, okay, that was the point. I don't know why they had it in there, maybe for comedy, but then he continues chasing him. They climb over, and then he gets into the fist fight with from the guy from Renegade. Those two.
Yeah, like in I think an alleyway, or actually a little side street there too with vendors.
Well, they're right in the little Chinese restaurant, the little side restaurant they have. those little pop-up restaurants that people have in the markets.
Yes.
So yeah.
Well, what's good about this scene, and I'm glad you brought it up, is that it's time for a moment, and Final Flame just popped in. Want to say good day. Again, we're talking about Hard to Kill, but really what I like to emphasize sometimes at the meta level that we did with Chuck Norris in many of his films is some, Chuck Norris films. And you get where you start understanding Chuck Norris in his films. If you watch them in order, you see things build on each other. And so, you can start Norrising all over yourself when you watch them. Now that we have a second film that we're discussing with Steven Seagal, there's definitely some Seagalisms. So one, you're going to have a meat cleaver, which you get in the scene because the guy picks it up. Two, you're going to get a broken hand, arm, neck, or a combination of them or collection of them. Here, what's important about the Renegade guy is that after he's beaten the crap out of him, he has a flashback while he's holding him, and I don't know what in the wrist lock is what I'm going to call it or whatever. And if you look at the guy's wrist, there's a scar from when he broke it before.
Yeah.
And he goes, I remember you. And he grabs it and he breaks his neck.
That's where he slaps the guy's hand off the wrist up. So yeah,
it's awesome. It's awesome. I mean, I like how they threw that in a little bit there too. So that's pretty neat.
And that's where you get the line. This is for my wife. Fuck you and die.
Well, that's the best scene to me. He gets into the mansion. And all I gotta say is the evil senator guy's got this hot mama he's in a hot tub with, and they should have focused on her a little bit. But he breaks in, and there's the three clowns standing around the pool table. And one of them, I think, is somebody we're going to see later that they call Sticks. But these are the dudes that put the hit on him and trying to kill him. And they can't. He's like, guys, can I play? Can someone give me a cue? And his delivery of these lines are friggin' awesome because there's no humor to him at all.
It's funny. He walks in and he's like, "Oh, how's it going, guys? Because you get room for one more?" He needs a cue stick. The guy goes hit him with a cue stick, and he blocks it, and he uses it. Then he smacks the guy and the Chinese guy over the head.
Yeah, and it just looks and sounds like it hurts.
Oh, it does.
What's so brutal is, like you said, after he wipes everybody out, it comes up to the one dude, and he says, "This is for my wife. Fuck you and die." And he just gores the guy with the fucking cue. Oh, it's fucking awesome. I mean,
Brookie jabs it right in his neck.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, this is awesome. This is what I was talking about. The hell with Invasion USA, 50 million gunshots.
You get Holland, the corrupt cop, and he's like, and he's getting ready to beat him up, and the guy's like, hold on. He's like, there's something you should know. I wasn't involved, so they might change your mind. And what he's done, he's just straightened his tie out, and he basically chokes him, and he's like, good. So it's like, good. Now you're a good cop. And he walks away.
Then there's all these what I call lipstick messages, the stuff that's written around, like anticipation of death is worse than death itself. And then there's like this other thing written on the wall, and he just stalks them. He just stalks them in his own house.
He's walking around. Didn't he have the shotgun? Is that he had? He's walking around. He's like, Vernon, are you here? Are you under the bed? Oh no, you're not under the bed.
The fucker's in the closet.
He's like, stupid. Yeah, He's like, are you in here? Nope, you're not in here. And he just basically mocks him the whole entire time until he finally finds the guy tries to shoot him with this little shotgun, and he grabs it from him. And he shoves the shotgun in his mouth.
I mean, he puts it in his mouth. He doesn't just say suck it or put it in there. He shoves that shit in, and they cut back to the scene. It's cheap effects, blood all around the dude's mouth, and you're like, again, this is a really phallic sexual.
And I would have been much more happier if he would have blown his brains out.
Maybe he was told not to. I don't know if that's a director's choice, because I was really expecting it. Because the thing about Seagal is, like, when we talked about the early Norris films, he beats the crap out of people, but he does it like as a last resort. You don't get the sense that he really loves it and enjoys it. Not that he's a pussy and he hates it, but he does it just because he can do it, and it's like a tool. Okay, I beat you up. I did this. We're done. Seagal, he's like, all right, if I got to resort to beating you up this way, I'm going to. I don't think he goes looking for it, but in this case, as a revenge film, he is looking for it. But man, he is enjoying stalking this guy and beating the crap out of him. So it's really good acting, because you really do feel a sense of restraint. Like, man, I didn't pull the friggin' trigger on this gun, because you can tell he really wanted to bad. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, he had all the cops called in and all that, and that's pretty much the end of the movie, because it just cuts to the video of what he'd had from early on, that he had taped the guy again. So he kind of pulled down the entire ring, and of course he hugs his son, and that's pretty much it.
But you can tell how great this movie is, man. It made 4 times its original budget of like what it was, $11.5 million, and it made $47.4 million.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
mean, people were watching it more than once, and they were.
Growing up in the hood there in Pine Hills, where I was working at the time, all the brothers, all the sisters, everybody wanted to see Seagal, and it wasn't because of flippity floppity karate kicks and punches. It was for breaking freaking bones, and you definitely got it in here, and that's all people talk about. Oh, the scene where he
It,
did this or he did that with the wrist. Oh, it was incredible.
what makes this great about the villain is William Sadler, and he plays Death and Ted and Bill and Ted. So that's where you know him from that. And he's been popping up in different shows. But if you're from the 80s, you remember him or early 90s, you remember him being the Grim Reaper on Bill and Ted Bugs of It. So seeing him as this is like, he's still kind of a worm, but he's not as flamboyant.
Yeah, and for him to be like what you say and all that, I think is a legit comment. Edward's saying in channel that by now he's a bona fide star, meaning Seagal. That's how I'm taking that comment. And I have to totally agree. Like I say, if you look at what we had talked about on Top 10 Tuesdays, one of the other shows that we do here on the Xtreme Movie Show with Englentine from I Love Comics, we just got done doing 1986, and the theme I had been talking about from 84, 85, definitely in 86, more importantly, is that martial arts films turn into action films with very little martial arts, and there's lots of guns and explosions. They got really Americanized and bombastic. Right about now, with the exception of Jean-Claude Van Damme, which we've yet to talk about, will be soon, you've got Steven Seagal as basically one of your number one guys. There's a few other martial arts films and martial artists out there, but in terms of hitting the big screen at the right time, this is it. And so, again, kind of like Chuck Norris, he's got the chops, he's got the background, right place, right time, was getting built up. This is his second film. Seagal had the fortune or the timing, if you will, to have a student that ended up being a movie producer that got him the first movie, and that was a moderate success, and so they built on it here. And to your point, what you said at the beginning is so true. They cut out some of the fluff. They said, hey, this is the meat and potatoes of what we think a Seagal film is. And I would tell you, like I know you had some hesitation about these films, he's still got a couple more, and they still get better.
It just seems like they didn't want him talking as much as he did in Above the Law. If they want him talking, they want him doing zingers because that's what you remember. So look at all the great movies like Top Gun. Whether you love it or hate it, you remember every single line from it.
Yeah, zingers and attitude, because here he's definitely, I agree with you, toned back a little bit, and so you're going to see a little bit more attitude in some of the other films. They might take what he's doing in this film and multiply it some. So we've got a couple more that we're going to do. So let me ask you this. Compared to the first film, which you thought was decent, you thought was pretty good, but you weren't necessarily the biggest fan of it, how did this one compare?
Well, this one I love action movies. This one was more action. It's not completely like Rambo where he's just like firing a gun and hitting everything in sight.
Right.
But I mean, my one complaint with the first movie, it was a good movie, but I just wish they would have started with the action instead of waiting till like the last 40 minutes.
Yeah, Edward Brewer saying in channel, hey, any Hong Kong flicks in the future, Chinese, they are truly the best. We've talked about a long list of ones that we want to do and what to spend time on. So, Ed, it's pretty much, as you know, like a mix of one, what we have time for, two, what fans want to see with it. I think we're going to probably do at least a quick review on Life Force. I know that's one after Commando we were wanting to take a look at coming up, but I definitely would think that we're going to cover at least some of the classics from the Shaw Brothers, or some odds and ends ones there too. So it's not really necessarily a martial arts channel per se, but so much action. But because Doctor and I really, really like Chuck Norris and action films, we kind of wanted to do a similar timeline to the 80s films and the Stranger Things that we've been doing.
But speaking of the Chinese and the Hong Kong flicks, I was watching the original Drunken Master from the 70s with Jackie Chan the other day.
Had you seen it before?
No, I had not seen it before. And it's just like you said, he doesn't do a ballet, but I mean, I'd still say that Jackie Chan's better than Bruce Lee. I think Bruce Lee is overrated.
Well, table that, because that's going to draw a lot of ire from people, and I definitely think obviously you need to cover Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan, because a lot of it's a stylistic thing, which is what we're talking about here: Seagal versus Norris.
Let me alliterate on it. I basically, because most people have only seen Bruce Lee, a couple movies, and he died. If he would have, and you can't really judge him, but judging on the few that he did, he was a good martial artist. I'm not saying he was horrible. I'm just saying that he's not the greatest. You can't say the greatest because you've only seen a few. you haven't seen everything else that he could have done. Even though he could have been like greatest Seagal.
Eric Breen saying, "Well, Bruce Lee doesn't move too well these days." Yeah, that's true. He's right now. He's out in the yard taking a dirt nap. No,
I mean,
here's the thing about
like you guys have said about Chuck Norris. Chuck Norris is a bigger guy. He could have, in that movie, he was holding back. He could have took on Bruce Lee.
yeah, but Bruce, because of dying, because this was the 70s, because it was cross-cultural, not American, and the fact that he was a little dude, and just his intensity that came across, he was like a meteor. He shined really bright, really quick, really intense, and that's what people remember. And so, like, one of the things Englentine and I have debated about doing as far as covering things is, would you like to have one great movie that everybody remembers, or would you like to make a bunch of films that are good and solid films, but unless they've got specific, fans, you don't remember? To me, I want to be that, one hit wonder that everybody remembers because it had such an impact, rather than make 10 or 12 albums that a lot of people buy but nobody really knows, and you don't know anybody that's listened to them. And it's the same thing here. Bruce Lee is going to be thought of as number one with everybody. Now, when you define the greatest, you have to define what great is. So right now, I'm not really trying to solve that debate.
No.
I'm simply just trying to point out that, yeah, when we started these films, I know we were probably both looking forward to going into JCVD a little bit more for other reasons, but I thought it was important to go over Seagal because he gets a lot of hate these days, whether it's warranted or not. And these 4 or 5 films that we're going to be talking about, we're through the second one now, really are at the right place at the right time and are very different than the Norse films.
Yeah, I want to back to Seagal film. This movie, you get to see Seagal running. Now we just watched Commando, where he had a stunt double running, and it kind of made Arnold look like he was flamboyant running, even though it wasn't Arnold. Would you say, yeah? And with this movie, as far as Seagal, was a better runner?
Wow, that's a deep dive analysis. I prefer it when people try to do their own stunts, and that's where Jackie Chan's going to get a lot of credit. But Jackie Chan's like 5'8", 150. I mean, he's an athletic dude, no doubt about it. I'm sure we're definitely going to cover some of his films because there's some that I really like. But at the same time, it's cute and it's nice, but maybe it's an American thing, especially in the 80s. I want to see ass kicking. It's cute that, you can jump up and weave around through 23 people and, move a rose from one side of a table to another. That's cute. I don't give a shit about the rose of the friggin' pool table. I want to see a cue stick going in someone's throat and someone saying, "That's for my wife. Die, you motherfucker." That does it for me. So I guess it depends on what you want to be rewarded with. Me, I'm a bit more tame and visceral and not as artistic when it comes to kicking ass sometimes.
And he's as cool as Seagal is, he'll never be as cool as Time to Die.
That's true, Chuck Norris. Well, the next movie we're going to be covering for everybody for Seagal and Kicking It is going to be March for Death. And I could say this in 6 words: Jamaican drug lords. Honestly, I don't remember if Hard to Kill came out first before this one or not. Don't really care. But the fact that both these movies came out in the same year, again, with not that much martial arts coming out in the 80s turning into the 90s.
Hard to Kill was the second movie. So.
Well, great, because then by now people knew just what to expect from Seagal, because March for Death, it's a lot of fun. So March for Death will be coming soon.
Yeah, it's just, I think the next one is like in 1993, or yeah, we're just getting to the point where we were introducing Jackie Chan in the 90s.
Yeah, and we'll mention some Jackie Chan for sure.
Yeah, I'm just saying
the whole Shaw Brothers thing and others. Again, there's so much to pick from, and we try to stay current too.
And this is where Seagal starts having more challengers. He's got as far as for viewership, because you have Jackie Chan coming into the scene, and you have Jean-Claude Van Damme just throwing out movies left and right.
True.
Time Cop, man.
Well, Time Cop is it's a masterpiece, really. And people tell you it's the greatest film ever made. And I'm going to have to find that clip because I think he still sticks by it to this day. But yeah, Seagal, again, just talking about what his good stuff is, when it came out, why it was good, trying to compare it to what's going on. I know we've been in the 80s theme for a while, because if we had to define ourselves as an extreme movie show, it really is mostly about the 90s, although we do like to cover a lot of things. So I'm really pleased to see that, Final Flame is in here. I know he does a lot of work over on his channel. I've been checking that out recently. Edward Brewer's been talking about doing some of the original Chinese stuff. Well, we love ninjas. We love all that kind of stuff. I mean, we talked about Amy Johnston before. We've talked a little bit about Scott Adkins and some others. I know Englentine's really into the Asian scene as far as some of the movies. I know he's talked about a few, so definitely going to be pumping some more of these out.
Yeah, good recommendation. I think it's called "They Come for Us at Night." That's the one that Anglentine just he suggested me, and
Oh yeah, you guys have talked about it. What did you think about it?
it is brutal.
Yeah.
Just the whole like scene where they come in for the girl, and you got these three guys trying to protect this girl against like 30 different goons coming up the elevator, and they all got like machetes and the hatchets. So, and they're trying to defend themselves and all. It's just like you're just seeing people getting their arms chopped off or getting machetes to the forehead.
Again, the more you see of it, the more I think you get desensitized.
Yeah.
Not that that's a bad thing. It
Oh
sounds like
no.
ballet. It sounds like something I've seen in a Tony Jaa movie.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting which one. Maybe The Protector. There's
Yeah.
a hotel scene.
But I mean, it's just graphic, you know. I mean, there's even a butcher scene where you got these 7 butchers against this one guy, you know. But it's all in English subtitles. It's all Japanese or not
Netflix
Chinese.
right now.
It's on Netflix.
Yeah, The Night Comes for Us, I think it is, or something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. You'll find it. You'll see it. It's by the people that did The Raid, isn't it?
I believe so. I don't quote me on that.
Okay, I'm quoting Englentine.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
fine with me.
The curator of comics, the lover of lists, the semi-shadow band singer, as we like to say. So if you haven't checked out Englentine's channel, it's I Love Comics. He co-hosts the Xtreme Movie Show Sunday night. We're going to be discussing some things. We're going to be throwing in a Life Force review here soon. We're discussing which commentary we're going to be doing next. And of course, Dr. Vigman and I have been looking at some more Kickin' It's, a couple more Seagals, JCVD, some European ones. We got the horror stuff coming up. We've got Rambo. There's just so much good quality.
I mean, it continues all the way into the Transporter movies. If you want to go for martial arts,
who knows?
I mean, look at Lady Bloodfight came out a couple of years back. You know, it's just gonna keep going, keep going. You got Revenger, and then it's martial arts is never gonna go away. There might not be as many movies, but available. But hey, as long as they translate it for me, I don't care.
Right. Well, any final comments? Any final thoughts before we call it a day?
I just if you guys just stay extreme.
Stay extreme, everybody. Yeah. Thanks for joining too, guys. Have a good one. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good day.